Traditional German pretzels from southern Germany are made with a very firm dough, and there's a special ingredient in it that's based on barley. This bag is diastatic barley malt powder, and over here next to it is a jar of barley malt syrup. You have your choice of putting either one into the dough. Now, when you make the dough, you let it rise until it is doubled in size, and then you just indicate that by pushing into the dough with 2 fingers, and you see when the depressions remain, then you know that the dough is ready. It's very straightforward to make the dough in the mixer, and then to remove the dough from the mixer, just take a dough scraper or bench scraper, and then just dislodge it, quick strokes. The bowl has not been greased. And then your next step, see, this dough is non-sticky, it's just wonderful, very easy to work with. And your next step is to divide the dough, portion it out into 3-ounce portions, and you'll need to have 12. Just cut the dough with your bench scraper, and then weigh them. This is 3 3/4 ounces, so it's a little bit heavy. Anyhow, just continue doing this until you have 12 pieces of dough, each weighing about 3 ounces. And then once you have your 3-ounce pieces of dough, just shape them into balls, just like this. And what this does is develop a little bit of surface tension on them. And then just set them down on your work surface, a couple of inches apart. And then when they're all shaped into little balls, cover them with a kitchen towel and let them rest for about 15 minutes. While the balls of dough are resting, have ready 2 18 by 12 inch baking sheets and line them with parchment paper, because you're going to be putting your pretzels onto those. And just get those off to the side. Take one of your balls of dough from under the towel, and this works really best on a wooden counter. Roll this dough out. This has to be quite long, and what you want is for this pretzel dough to be about 1 inch in diameter in the middle. It's got to have a fat middle. And notice when I release the dough how it wants to come back, retract. You need to get this dough out until it's about 23 inches in length. And you see how tapered the ends are. And when you get it to this length, just keep your fingers on the dough for a few seconds. Don't push down on the dough or else it'll break, just like it did right there. And then pick the dough up, give it a quick twist in the air, and then bring the ends up of the pretzel and then adhere them to the arm. Now let me just turn this to you so that you can see what this looks like. It should look just like that. And here are the pretzels, all shaped on the 2 baking pans. And you see they each look quite unique. What you're going to need to do after they're all shaped is to cover them with kitchen towels and then let the pretzels rest at room temperature for 20 to 30 minutes, just until they've begun to rise a little bit. They should look just slightly puffy, but you don't want them to rise too much or else they will lose their wonderful chewiness. And then put them into the freezer for 1 full hour. One traditional step in making these German pretzels is to dip them into a bath of lye, which I have right here. And lye is sodium hydroxide. It's a very basic solution. This is 1%, 3% solution only, which means there's 1 ounce of lye in 1 quart of water. It's very dilute, but it does the job. If you don't want to work with lye, then use 2 tablespoons of baking soda that you dissolve in water. But lye gives a certain characteristic to these pretzels, which I think is really important. One of which is a certain tang that you will not get with a baking soda, and another is a crispness on the outside that also you will not get with a baking soda. Both help, though, to get the pretzel to brown properly in the oven. So, when you work with lye, use rubber gloves. This is a frozen pretzel. Take it right off the baking sheet. Dip it into the lye, take 2 of them, And then the lye should cover the pretzel completely. Let the pretzels soak in the lye for about 15 seconds or so. The same thing would be true if you were using baking soda. And then just lift the pretzel out of the lye. It's very slippery. And replace the pretzel back on your baking sheet. And work with just 2 at a time. See, freezing these pretzels really makes this step very, very easy. And then you have a choice now. You have a choice of what to do. You can sprinkle your pretzels with salt. And this is just coarse salt. And you can be, just don't overdo this because you don't want it to be too salty. Take a couple of more pretzels. Dip them in the lye for, again, another 15 seconds. And then while that's happening, let me just show you what I have here for toppings for the pretzels. I have, starting from over here, poppy seeds and sesame seeds. These are brown sesame seeds. And I also have some pumpkin seed over here. You can also do sunflower seed, anything that you like. And also notice that in this lye bath, in this whole area, I have lined my counter with paper because lye will stain wood. So just be aware of that when you're doing this at home. So drain off the excess liquid. And I'm going to put this into the poppy seed and press it down. And then I'll take this one and I'll press it into the sesame seed. And see, this lye bath will help the toppings stick. See how lavish that is? And just set it right back down onto your baking sheet. And then if you want to make sure that it's all covered, just sprinkle some more onto your pretzel. Once they're all dipped, once all your 12 pretzels are dipped and coated with seed, then let them sit at room temperature for about 15 to 20 minutes until they're partially thawed. And then we'll be ready to move on to the next step. Now, these pretzels traditionally have a slash around their real fat middles, and then these slashes expand during baking. So once the pretzels have sat at room temperature, the frozen ones that you've coated with the seeds, once they've sat at room temperature for 15 to 20 minutes, take a razor blade and then along the arc, along this back edge here, make a slash, forming a C, a large C. And you don't have to do this quickly. Just make it as even as you can. And make sure that you go in about 1/4 of an inch. Okay, and this will expand during baking. Now, once all of your pretzels have been slashed like this, leave the pretzels at room temperature for about an hour until they're completely thawed and they start to become slightly puffy again. And then bake them following the directions in your recipe. And once they're done, you peel them off the parchment, set them on a cooling rack, and when they're completely cool, you can just dig in and eat them. They are just absolutely scrumptious fresh.